He is,
Merry Buckmas, BT. It's Buckmas in February.
We love this guy. He has been on the scene since the early 90s with the Yankees, of course, until last year with the Mets. Just a wonderful baseball story. 4-time manager of the year, 1,700-plus wins, and one of the brilliant tacticians. We truly are big fans. Looking forward to having a good conversation. Buck Showalter, Buck, it's BT and Sal. How are you today, sir? What's happening? Welcome to our show.
What's up, man? I'm still fooling them. Did you guys watch the Grammys?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, my daughter, who's 7, loves Taylor, so yeah, I got duped into a little bit. How about yourself?
What's not to like? No, I was traveling, and so my wife taped it, so we got to fast forward to the parts that didn't make much sense.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of those on some of these shows here. Did you get to
But
see?
the music was great. Did you see Tracy Chapman?
I did. I used to love
special.
that car, too. That song,
she's
yeah.
good.
Yeah. I like it. Buck talking music out of the chute. Did you see Billy Joel play his new hit?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. All right. So Buck is up to speed on music, and Buck sounds like he's ready to go.
You know what I noticed about the Grammys, Buck? Taylor Swift didn't have her boyfriend there. Travis Kelce was sitting. Somehow she
Well, better not be.
She fly,
Better
well,
not.
Yeah.
She went to, come on, Buck. She flies around the country to see him. I mean, she went to Buffalo, which is maybe the worst place on earth, and he can't go to the Grammys for a few hours?
He's working. He's working.
Thank
if you're his teammate or his coach or a fan of their football team, where do you want him right now?
Yeah.
Now you bend over because Buck says that you were wrong. Come on, man.
I'm not saying Buck's wrong. However, yes, from the sports aspect of it, but Buck, I mean, we're talking about relationships here. I mean, you know, if he wants to marry this girl, I think he should have supported her.
You better get your priorities in order. We're talking about a Super Bowl here.
That is right. That is absolutely right,
So
Buck.
Super Bowl greater than relationship. All right, I respect it.
No. Don't get me started.
We're not going to attribute that to you. Don't worry. So, Buck, we got a lot of things to roll by here. We're looking forward to a nice conversation. And we started with the Yankees, right? Obviously, a lot of Met things, too. But the Yankees, to me, I'm disappointed, and I thought they were going all in. Now, I am thankful for Soto. He's amazing. Judge, that 2-3 or 3-4 combo, however they actually stack them. I think it'll be Soto 2 and then Judge 3. I think that's what it should be. They're going to be prolific. We know that. Verdugo's an upgrade. You got Garrett Cole. But it just seemed like they were going all in. And it doesn't seem like they're going all in. How would you rate or how would you analyze the Yankees offseason this year after a very disappointing 2023?
Well, I think they were very competitive last year. I think they're going to get another chance. I still like their rotation. There's a lot of teams, oh, gosh, we got to sign Rodon. Well, they did. He just happened to be hurt some. Stroman is a guy that has got a real talented hand and likes pitching in that environment, I think. And you look at a rotation of Cole and Rodon and Stroman and maybe Schmidt and maybe Cortez, that's a lot of people would kill for that rotation. The guy that they added that I think went under the radar that I really like is Trent Grisham. He's probably one of the best top 3 center fielders in the league, in the National League. I was really impressed. This guy can really go get the ball. And he'll figure out a way to get in the picture just by what he brings every day. Volpe's going to be a year better. Some of those guys graduate. He's got, I just think they've added some good pieces. Their bullpen, I think, is going to be solid again. And I think the health of Rodon is going to be big. If he can get where he's capable of getting, that's going to be a good club again. Defensively, I think they're going to be improved a little bit too.
Yeah, I got to say, Buck, I hate the idea of Trent Grisham's name even being brought up, especially from you, the damn Padres, a couple years ago. But back to the Yankees for a second. You mentioned Grisham in the outfield. How about Judge? Would you worry about Judge? He's going to be playing center field here to start the year until Dominguez could come back. The main priority has to be keeping a guy like that healthy. Would you worry about the wear and tear on Judge in center field?
Well, I think, first of all, I'm going to let Aaron and Cash handle that. They know him better than I do, and they wouldn't do something like that if they didn't feel confident about it. I think that's why Grisham's here to give him some time there. It's good for a manager to have a team and an outfield that you can move around on a given day. Soto might DH one day. Stanton's capable of going out there. They've got a lot of interchangeable pieces, and Verdugo fits into that mix too. Nobody's ever questioned the talent level he brings. So I just think they've got a lot of interchangeable parts in the outfield, and Aaron will certainly figure out how they fit.
Buck, one of the things, I was looking at Buck Showalter, BT and Sal on the Fan, one of the things that the Yankees got away from, and it's bothered me, and one of their great things is that they are very corporate, and that could be a positive. And then there's other times when it's not. you need some live wires. Like when Darryl was here with the Yankees, O'Neal slamming coolers. I know it's a different generation of players. I get that. But you need a couple of guys who are a little unpredictable, and somebody like Verdugo and somebody like Stroman with their energy and their on-field dynamics. I think the Yankees became too boring and almost too programmed, and those guys will add a much-needed juice, kind of wake things up a little bit, Buck.
Well, I know people around the league probably think that people are spoiled a little bit by their success over the years with the wins and losses, but at the same time, I know there's only really one way you're evaluated in New York if you're the last team standing. They're certainly not going to be boring. I can tell you that. I think they're going to bring a lot of different personalities to the table, and Aaron and his staff are good at that. At handling that. I think Brian's got a lot of confidence in them. But talented guys work in New York. It works when you perform. It all works. If you don't perform, it doesn't work. And who's got a problem with that? That's kind of why we get up in the morning. I used to tell the players, we control all the narrative. They're not controlling it. We control it. Play better and things work out. It's real simple. You control it. And it may not be for everybody, but there's a great reward for it if you can handle it.
And you've done it certainly with both teams here in town, whether it be with the Yankees and obviously with the Mets a couple years ago. BT and Sal on the Fan talking with Buck Showalter. With the Yankees, Buck, it's different expectations going into the year. Even though we felt maybe they didn't do enough this offseason as far as all in, they still have a team that could compete for a World Series. The Mets, a team you just were with here, managing them the last couple years, they are not. This is kind of a step back here. My question with this team is the core. You were there for this. You won 101 games with this ball club, 2 years ago. Obviously, it didn't go the way that everybody had hoped last year for a variety of reasons. What do you think of the core of this New York Mets team?
Oh, I think they're underestimating what they're. I think down deep, everybody's trying to be the last team standing. They've got a lot of things going for them in that they're going to get Edwin Diaz back. There's certain things you remember in your life. What was going on at the time. I remember getting the text message from Brandon Nimmo. I was going to bed because we get up early in spring training. I said, "Are you watching this?" When Edwin went down, and then we played 2/3 year. They're going to have Quintana back. That was a huge loss for us. And now they've added Manea, and they're going to have Singa for a whole year, knowing exactly what he's capable of. Severino's got a chance to pop, and you're going to get Marte back, the guy that hits second and plays good defense. I mean, those are some big additions, and I like what they've done with the coaching staff. And they got some good young players coming. Wendell was a good addition. Beatty and Vientos and Alvarez are a year older, a year wiser. I think they're in a good place. I really do. And there's some things that can hit. Having Quintana and Edwin Diaz and of course, Marte back all year is huge.
Buck, I like what you just did there, and it's sincere. You said you like what they did with the coaching staff.
Right, I love John Gibbons as a bench coach. That's a great move. Mike Sarbaugh, the third base coach, I saw him back in Kinston years ago. I thought he was going to be a star, and I love what Carlos brings. I mean, he's got a great reputation. He's very calm and sincere, and it'll play well. He knows the game. I love his path. He's followed a great path of experience to get this opportunity, and guys like him should get an opportunity.
Yeah, but I just to complete the thought from before, it's impressive for you to be able to say that so shortly after the way it ended. Like that's noble. I quite frankly, I'm not sure that I'd be able to wax poetic about somebody that I wouldn't diss them, but I might just like not to talk about them because a lot of Met fans didn't like the way you were treated at the end. And I'm a Yankee guy, but I'm sitting there saying Buck deserves better than the way this is going down. So you've forgotten, like you've moved on. You're okay?
Life's too short, guys. I don't want to be the angry old guy on the front porch screaming at the kids. I learned things. There's a lot of good people there that, I think David will take advantage of. He's brought in some good people, and there's room for everybody at the trough, so to speak. These guys that are trying to promote themselves by somebody else's failures. I learned a long time ago, you take what job is given to you, grind the heck out of it, and don't worry about your title or where it may lead, and you might be surprised where it leads. Just do the job you're hired to do as well as you can do it. They got Eric Chavez back as a hitting coach now. We know and that and they kept and Jeremy's there too. So it's a good group. It's a good group, and I'm pulling for them. I'm pulling for both teams in New York. I always have, except when they play us.
I agree with you, Buck, as far as what the Mets have done with their staff. I think it's nice. However, and you'd be hard-pressed to find a bigger voice in this town that was more supportive of the hiring of you, the whole Mary Buckmas thing, and there was a reason behind it because you're a legit manager. And, now I know the way the game is going with these data applicators, as I like to call them, guys that are, being influenced by the front office or guys that maybe don't have enough experience or as much experience as you did. But you didn't really get a chance to finish the story here. 1 year very good, 1 year not so good. I would have liked to see you get an opportunity here in a third year and see what you could do. Did you get the chance to talk to David Stearns to potentially be back for that third year?
I talked to Dave, I think 2 or 3 days after, I think it was a couple of days after his press conference. And that's as much my fault as his. We were both moving around a lot. He had obviously a lot going on. And I've heard good stuff about him. And, things I don't confuse. He wants his own people. I understand that. There's Billy Epler wanted his people. I mean, the next guy's going to want people that they're comfortable with and know. And do I think I could? We all want to think that we could do the job as well and get an opportunity. But that's not. It doesn't always work out the way you hope and wish it would.
Mm-hmm.
You don't sit there and overanalyze it. You just try to. Be a voice of reason and try to understand. There are a lot of things I don't understand, but it's not up to me. And I have a lot of respect for Steve Cohen and his family. Treated me and my family great, and the Mets fans are in good hands. And they'll get it going again, especially with these people coming back from the injured list. They'll be able to put their best foot forward. Having Edwin back is huge.
Yeah, it's big. He's absolutely.
Buck, what do you think?
Untouchable.
I dubbed it. Not only did I come up with Mary Buckmas, I came up with the Worthless Baseball Classic last year. What do you think of the World Baseball Classic?
Well, I'm a little biased. We lost Edwin. I mean, that was a killer. I tried to put on a good face, but David Robertson did a good job for us, and Adam Ottavino, who I came to really respect, did the job for us too. Brooks Raley, we pieced it together, but you subtract from something, it makes something else less good, so to speak. And we had to add those guys at the end of the game. So I just think I like what they've done in their bullpen too. But the WBC serves a purpose globally, and I'm sure I've been to Dominican, I've been to Venezuela, I've been to Mexico, I've been to these countries, and I know how much it means to them, and I know how the cultures so it's important that we know that we're not alone on this earth, and this baseball game is global, and we want to keep growing it. We have a responsibility to the game, and I'm sure that's what the commissioner and everybody has in mind. So I try not to question the things I don't understand. Any fool can take something and make it complicated. It takes a smart guy to make something that's complicated simple, and that's really what coaching is. You try to take something complicated and make it simple.
Yeah, that's good stuff. We're talking to Buck Showalter, of course, former Mets skipper. Started with the Yankees all the way back in the day as the Yankees were beginning their renaissance, and Buck was right in the middle of all that. It's just an amazing baseball life. He's with us here, BT and Sal on the Fan. All right, you mentioned Billy Epler's name. Can you explain to us how it works modern day? Because growing up, I'm sure Billy Martin had a rough night at the bar. He gets to the clubhouse whenever he gets there, fires back 9 or 10 cigarettes, and he writes out the lineup card. It's very different now. Did you, and I'm so curious about this because everybody's guessing, you go to the ballpark, was it solely, hey, this is what of course you have information, but was it 100% you? Was there collaboration with Billy? How does it work constructing the lineup modern baseball?
Well, I spoke to Billy 3 or 4 times a day. I mean, we had a great line of communication. I'm sure Carlos and David or whoever may be in the line of conversation, we had a lot of input. But at the end of the day, we made the lineup and we went with it. There's certain things that, what's the real expression? Be careful about telling truths that hurt innocent people. There's certain things you wear as a manager. If you looked up the definition of a manager, you have to wear certain things, and that's just part of your job description where you talk to the media twice a day for 7 months. I mean, it's football coaches chuckle at us. What do they do? Talk to them on Monday, maybe?
Yeah, really?
And It's part of the job description now, and you better be decent at it, and you have to have respect. One piece of advice: I never listened to a broadcast. I read articles as I went down there every day. I turned to Ethan Wilson, who's great at what he does there, the PR director. I said anything I need to know about. I just didn't want to be ambushed. And in order to interact with people every day, if you're going to read and listen to every little thing said or written, you're going to have a problem. The problem now is with the different lines of communication, so to speak. There's just so many things, families and wives and kids, everybody's exposed to. And sometimes by the time the player gets to the ballpark, he's been made aware of all this. That's why, I used to get up from my office and people were in there and said, hey, I got to go walk the locker room. I just walk the locker room 2 or 3 times a day. You need to interact with the players and find out what's going on with them every day, because that's what it's about. It's about the players and it's about the fans. And if you ever lose sight of that as a manager or coach, because we're all replaceable. Very quickly, they'll mourn you for 5 minutes, and they're going to wonder who the next guy is coming in. So
you know how it goes.
Keep in mind where you are on the food chain.
Yeah, but just to be clear, Buck, because you say, sometimes you have to wear it as the manager. When you say...
No, there may be something with an injury or something that's going on, why a guy could perform or didn't. But, but I was given, I made lineups out. We had input from a lot of people. As much as they think things, we confuse change with a lack of respect for tradition. We were doing things back in the early 90s with on-base percentage. Nowadays, we just have different ways to evaluate and be more accurate. And, I told everybody, come on in, bring everything you got in here, and let's talk about it. Tell me what it tells us, and then tell me what it doesn't.
What if the numbers are telling you something that you don't agree with? Who's going to get final say on that? Because that's a tricky spot. But sometimes you got to still go with the gut, which you do.
Well, I think that's part of managing and coaching a game that has a heartbeat. I know that something's happened in their life that may not make them the best player that day. I know there's just ebbs and flows to the season. There are times when you feel like you may not ever win another game. There's times when you feel like you may not ever lose another game. So you stretch out the good times and shorten the bad times and try to be consistent through it. The players behind closed doors, you can have emotions, but once you leave that door, you got to be a consistent figure for the players. They got to know what's coming, what reaction, and how you want to play the game. And sometimes you don't have the pieces to play it like you want to play it, but it doesn't mean the game's going to stop and anybody's going to feel sorry for you. Other teams are trying to beat your brains out. These are the best 30 teams in the world. Yep. So it's a competitive place. There's a fine line between. That's why payrolls don't always equal wins.
Oh, unfortunately, especially last year, BT and Sal on the Fan talking about Buck Showalter. I know the game has evolved, and I talk about this all the time with Terry Collins. The old school guys are kind of being phased out a little bit. Although, Buck, there's still a place for it where you've seen in recent years Dusty Baker have success, Bruce Bochy a year ago. God, that's what's so frustrating to me. I still believe in Bruce Bochy, in Dusty Baker, in Buck Showalter, but it seems the sport does not anymore. Do you still think that? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, look how long Ron Washington set out.
Yeah,
that's true.
What, 70? I mean, Ronnie's got a lot to offer. Watch the energy those guys play with out there. There's a real sincerity there, but they also understand the failings and how you handle those things. Being able to handle those things, and Bruce was such a calm hand when they were scuffling. I remember talking to Chris Young when they came to New York. They were going through a really tough patch, but I'd managed Chris when he pitched in Texas. He's a great general manager. He's perfect for their situation, but he had a lot of confidence and faith in Bruce's calming influence, and it really worked out for him.
Buck, one thing, and this is probably what I couldn't wait to ask you most. I have no idea how you're going to answer this. I think this was a big piece of conversation for me and Sal and fans, quite frankly, last year. So I know you didn't have the horses. Don't even comment on that. Guys went down. You guys were playing from behind. It was a tough spot. You did what you could do. Understood, respect that. What I did not understand is your best player just keeps getting drilled. Now, if you have to walk up to a pitcher and say, hey, you better do something, that pitcher probably doesn't have the stones to do it. Like, you should kind of know. But nobody defended Pete Alonso. And I think Met fans need to know why.
Yeah, I understand what you as a manager, I've stood at home plate when someone has blood coming out and they've been hit with a pitch and someone's gotten over emotional and you're wondering if somebody's life's in danger. But the same thing happens, to Pete. Nobody's more frustrated about it than me. You go back through all of them because you as a manager have to be, okay, let's stop and think about the reality of this situation. And there are times, and we've talked about it all year, the last 2 years, in our pregame meetings and stuff. You have to certainly look at things realistically. Okay, was he intentionally trying to hit him? Then you reach a point where, does it matter anymore? It's happened so much.
Yeah.
But what happens, you're the one that's responsible. Are you going to walk in and tell somebody who doesn't know where the ball, like if Edwin Diaz or whoever, it's a hard road to navigate for a manager because, I don't go up and tell somebody, I want you to hit this guy, and then all of a sudden he's supposed to hit him in the calf or the thigh, and it gets away from him, hits him in the head, and you're the one responsible for it. You've got to think about the ramifications of your actions. You got to think through it before you just emotionally react. And I got to tell you, because of the lack of command, the way they've cracked down on the sticky stuff, I think the biggest problem is the command. These guys are throwing the baseball they're chasing velocity all the time, and through it, they've lost a lot of command. Mm-hmm. And you see them getting hit with breaking balls, you see them getting hit with changeups, and everybody gets mad and this and that, whatever. And what is what is the intent of the pitcher? Did he really mean it? And if he didn't mean it and it was an accident, what type of action should you take?
Well,
and then how much is enough is enough. We got frustrated so much at some point where we got hit one time in Atlanta 5 times, and none of them were intentional. They were all just pitches that got you can tell.
Yeah, but don't you? But don't you think after a while that the optics matter? And listen, you could do.
Without a doubt.
Okay,
it was frustrating for me. Believe me.
I thought Pete should have charged the mound.
Right, somebody's got to do something.
If you don't want to throw a ball, just charge somebody and start throwing haymakers. The guy's 250 pounds. They're taking liberties 20 times a year. They're putting his career in jeopardy. I thought he looked soft.
Well, Pete's not soft.
I know he's not, but I thought he looked soft with that.
Pete also thought about the fact he gets suspended 5 or 10 games. But sometimes there's an end game. You have to sacrifice things to get a different mentality, so to speak. But, is it going to change? I think a lot of it's got to do with the way pitching's being taught. I really do. You're seeing hit by pitches, the rate at what it's at. And, I think the baseball is obviously slick, especially early in the year. And it's an issue. I'm not one of those guys that complains about things without having a solution. I've always thought they should have a pitching rag, just like they've got a hitter's rag, where these guys can grip the baseball. When it's 40 degrees outside and the wind's blowing, it's like grabbing a watermelon seed and trying to throw it. It's tough on them. But, yeah, there's nobody more frustrated than me. And Pete knew how valuable he was to the club, and he didn't want to get down on their level. But believe me, Pete, if he ever got his hands on somebody, I'll take Pete.
Last one from me, Buck, and we appreciate the time. BT and Sal on the fan with Buck Showalter. I know you got to run here in a minute or so. Off of the heels of that, the most disappointing thing to me about this team that you led the last couple years, not just the core, but the way that they didn't respond after getting swept by Atlanta, losing the division, not getting off the mat in the postseason, and then even last year having a chance still in June in Atlanta, not getting off the mat. To me, that showed maybe a weakness with the core group or lack of having a leader. Nimmo, Lindor, Alonso. Is there a leader, a captain out of those three? And if not, why not?
Oh, without a doubt. These guys, they lead through their actions. They lead. I hear the things they say every day. And, when you're not pitching well and certain things are happening, they're not the issue. They're quality human beings and good players, and they care about winning. They care about doing the right thing. You don't have to worry about them off the field. They take the responsibility of being a big leaguer very seriously, and they're good citizens. So I would embrace them, be proud of them. I don't, leadership's not always screaming and yelling and doing things. Sometimes it's just by your actions. But these guys, first of all, Atlanta guys is real good.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're not good. They're real good, and they got better. When they traded for the catcher from Oakland, I said, "Oh, gosh, are you kidding me?" That's one of the best additions anybody made last year under the radar. And they just didn't, 1 through 9, they just put a good team on the field. They defended, they pitched, they threw out the bullpen.
But you had them,
I
Buck.
understand what you're saying.
Yeah, well, all you had to do was win one game down there, and I know it's not your fault. The pitchers didn't get the job done. The players didn't get the job done. Even with blowing the division, and again, you tied, but then the postseason, there was no response. They didn't rebound. The guys didn't look like the same team that won 101 games. And then the following year, again in Atlanta, with Scherzer and Verlander on the mound, didn't get it done. I know Atlanta is good, but you guys were good too. And that was what's disappointing to me. It kind of crumbled, and I never got the feel of the toughness.
Let me tell you, it was disappointing to me too. And it was disappointing to the players, and because it didn't reflect who they were and what they were capable of. And because we didn't solve that, that's probably why I'm sitting here talking to you.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, another team could hire you. It would be a great hire. A little TV work coming up. What do we got on the agenda here, Buck? I know you're not done talking shop, so what's next for you?
Who knows? We're getting close to that time of year where my wife goes, "Don't you have someplace to go? Something, please. Get out of my hair."
Yes, get me out of here.
It's a great industry. It's been an honor to be a part of it. Not a day goes by I don't realize how lucky I am. The Mets were good to me. They got some good things ahead for them, and the fans should be ready for it. And I wish them well. I wish the Yankees well. I'd love to see them play in the World Series, but the game has a funny way of responding and being good to you if you're good to it. I keep telling the guys, it'll let you up off the deck if you just stay true to it. And there's some times in the season where you don't think the baseball guys are going to let you up, but they will if you just treat people like you'd like to be treated. And the golden rule works good, but it's not always fair. If you're looking for something fair, you're probably going to enter into the wrong business.
Wrong business. Well, that's one of the reasons why you've lasted 22 years. If it ends at 22 as a skipper, it's been a hell of a run.
One more round of Buckmas. Mary Buckmas. One more round, Buck. Wherever you go, I follow. I don't care if it's Anaheim. I don't care where it is, San Diego. Wherever you go, Buck, I follow. I believe in Buckmas.
What if he takes over for Boone?
I'm fine with that. Let's go, Yankees.
Here we go, Buck. He's going to convert, man.
You're the man, Buck. Thank you.
Buck.
Guys, appreciate you having me. Y'all take care.
It's a pleasure, man. He's just a great one, man. Buck was awesome. Buck was awesome.
I yelled to him one time. I've told this story before on the air. I don't know if I told it to you. He came back for the first time in New York with the Diamondbacks.
Okay.
I want to say it was their inaugural game with the Mets. Could have been 98. I guess it was, right? Their first year in the league.
98 sounds very right.
I was down by the Mets, behind the Mets dugout as a fan, during batting practice. And here comes Buck walking along. And I yell out, "Hey, Buck!" And he turned, because I yelled loud at a good voice. He turns and I go, "Yankees suck!" And he gave me that smirk like, yeah, they do. You remember they let him go and all that? It was great.
Of course. Oh, my God.